Alrighty then, Stokastic. What's going on, friends? Little scheduling snafu. Last week the sites didn't include the Roku game, but it was at 12:05. Remember, I don't make the schedules, but I probably should have looked a little more closely since I need to double check these. Bellman will be joining me in just a moment here, but I hope everybody is doing well. I'm going to get some of these windows closed and tabs set up here. I've built out almost all of my FanDuel lineups, at least my hand-built ones, in the event. So I'm good to go there. Probably do a couple with the single lineups in, just so you guys can see what that looks like for DraftKings as we get moving along there. I believe we have all lineups with the exception of Miami. So at this point, I didn't want to build out the rest of my 50 on DK and 150 on FanDuel because I don't want to have to go through and sort that out. But we should be getting that Miami lineup hopefully soon. I couldn't tell who might be hurt or who might be being called up that they're waiting on. So although I think Xavier, was it Xavier who was hurt yesterday, or Xander or Stowers? I can't remember. Someone was hurt.
Well, Edwards missed two games. Yeah, he hasn't played in a couple games.
Don't forget to unmute and join playback.
Did you hear me when I said that Edwards hadn't played in a few games? Or?
Matt may be having some audio stank here. So I'm going to keep talking as we figure this out. The fun that we have going on here doesn't stop with baseball today. There are some NFL or NHL playoffs. We, of course, also have NBA Game 7, the do or die game. This one hopefully will be a little bit better than what Boston did for Game 6 there on Friday. I'd like to see something a little more competitive here. I don't have a super hardcore rooting interest in this one, but you're going to get Josh and Greg at 3 o'clock covering that slate. Oh, interesting. You guys can hear Matt, but I can't.
Yeah, I was going to say, like, there's nothing on my end.
What we're doing here, what I'm doing.
Thank you,
Matt.
Thank you, people.
Can you chat for just a moment here? I think I know what I did wrong.
Can I what?
I can hear you now. I just wanted you to talk for a second.
Oh, I was like, because I was actually chatting with you in Slack, saying I'm not sure this is on my end. And I didn't know you could hear me yet. So there we go. Now we got it.
Right here. 2 thumbs pointing at this guy. So
yeah, there we go.
Good times. Good times. Well, hey, it's a Sunday. We're a little out of sorts here. But I wrote my articles this morning. Already went for my 4-mile walk. Feeling stanky because I didn't shower yet because I wanted to make sure we got this show going. But here we are. Ooh, Jonathan India scratched. So we'll figure that one out in just a second. But Matt, let's jump on into pitching here. I'm going to be sharing some of the tools. We've got Freddie Peralta, the odds-on option at top. He's looking the safest. You have Colin Ray, who is our discount dandy. And then you've got Framber Valdez in that 105 game. That's the only game starting at 105. That's the Roku game. Paul Skeens, tough matchup in Philadelphia as we have the Pennsylvania teams squaring off, wrapping up one of the rivalry weekends here for Major League Baseball. How are you reading this? I'm assuming you're looking at Freddie at the top, correct?
I am looking at Freddie at the top.
And don't forget to join playback.
Oh, yeah.
But
why is that that's not even like, okay. Let me compose myself. So yeah, coming off a really good day yesterday, I feel like I'm seeing this slate pretty clearly, and Peralta is the easy top SP for me on this slate. I used some Twins last night. They didn't do anything because you needed Rockies and D-backs, which I also had one lineup, which was really good with those teams. The Twins have been very feisty. They've won 13 in a row, but their lineup is weak right now with no Buxton and no Correa. They are hot, so that's scary. But Peralta, I just think, is in a really good spot. Elite strikeout upside. I think that this is the prototypical like he's a stopper here, like for the Brewers who have been reeling a little bit. I like him a lot here. We know that unlike a lot of pitchers that are expensive like this. He's more volatile. He puts guys on base, which you never like to see, but his upside is very high here. And considering the options, I think he's the clear SP1. I hate this, but Colin Rea is my SP2 today. It's just the matchup, price, all that. Do you have someone else you like after Peralta?
So I built out my FanDuel lineups here using the single lineup sim. I did 7 of them today, and I'm going to share this just so we can talk about it real quick because I broke down a couple pitchers here. Share this tab instead. Okay, so this is here on FanDuel. So I built out 7 lineups. I just have it sorted by ROI right now. But if we click on these, we can see what I picked. So Colin Rea ended up being in 3 of the lineups. Freddie Peralta ended up being in 3 of the lineups. So what I did is I essentially just built some stacks around them. This one looks like I went with a little bit of Baltimore and then let the Sims kind of fill in the rest. I want to get to, I don't know which one is my, so here's the Freddie Peralta lineup. I built this one around a Cincinnati stack. If you're building on the FanDuel, it's going to push Gunnar Henderson towards you and Jose Ramirez. So those guys are going to be kind of the one-offs du jour today. Framber Valdez was the other one I did. And with I should have named the lineups because I didn't know I was going to do this. Probably this one. No. In any event, Valdez is the other guy I like going against Texas. There we go. So going against Texas here, we have him being underrepresented on FanDuel, and I wanted to have a third pitcher in my mix here. So he was the guy that I went with. I also felt it was interesting going against the Texas pitcher today. So I put in a Houston stack, but there's only 3 decent Houston bats, and that's Paredes, Walker, and Altuve. So Framber Valdez is my other guy. After that, Matt, it really, really starts to thin out. And, I'm expecting to have some Paul Skeens in my lineups. I'm expecting to maybe get to Spencer Schwellenbach, and I'll probably get a little Shane Baz. Now, we can talk about warts and all about all those other guys. So it's kind of a 2.5 pitcher slate for me. And frankly, if Colin Rea wasn't going against the White Sox, I wouldn't have a ton of interest in him. He's kind of an innings eater.
I don't think anyone would. I mean, It's the point that he's going against the White Sox. That's what makes him appealing. It's good pitching weather, and it's the White Sox. I mean, that's all you need. I mean, there's holes you can poke in every other pitcher on the slate. For me, full disclosure, I'm a huge Valdez fan in general. I play him a ton. I mean, I can't remember the last start I didn't play him, but I'm not playing him today. I don't love this spot for him. Early start against a Texas team that I think sets up better against left-handed pitching. They've seen him a ton, obviously, in the past. So I'm off Valdez today. He's just not a guy I'm going to play. I'm mostly sticking with Peralta and Rea. I think that those 2 guys are just the 2 best options by a pretty clear amount. Not to say there aren't other good arms on the slate, a la Valdez, but for DFS purposes, that's where I'm landing.
Which makes sense. And the guys who have Marcus Semien, of all people, it has the best history against Valdez, but he is in a massive cold slump at this season. So who knows what's going to win out there. Otherwise, all the active players have a triple slash line of a 206 average, a 266 on base, and a 359 slugging. So Valdez, he does a pretty good job. He's been a little more hit and miss this season. Like you, I've always been a huge fan of his. Just that ridiculous ground ball rate and as he ramped up his strikeouts has been appealing. But this one is kind of he makes the cutoff because I don't want to just have 2 pitchers today. It's terrible. How many lineups are you running today? 4, 3?
Yeah, I'm playing 4.
Okay. What was your big showing in last night? Was it
potentially more than 4, depending on how the show goes? I finished. I had finished first in the 444 in the early slate, and I finished second in the 555 or whatever 444 in the night slate. So it was a pretty good day.
Nice. Look at you. Look at you. Training wheels off. I was on a show, but you weren't here with me. You were just busy raking in all the cash. So are you going to take all Saturdays off now?
I had built my lineups earlier. My wife had plans that she made for me, and I did not feel like fighting her to get out of them. So
there we go.
I'm sure you can attest and understand that.
Happy wife, happy life. Those are words to live by. All righty. So we've kind of hit the pitching portion here. You want to go team by team, talk about stacks, and see if we can uncover anything else. We've got 37 minutes before the 105 lock, 10 games to cover. What say you?
Yeah, let's do it. I'm trying to think of even any other pitchers. Like, there are other good pitchers on this slate, but no great pitchers outside of Skeens, and all the other kind of good pitchers are in tough spots. So, yeah, I think we see it pretty clearly. I don't feel good about Chalk Colin Ray. I mean, he is just not good. These are the type of pitchers I generally in the past have been more inclined to get away from. But his price tag, like the matchup, I don't know. I like picking on the Rockies and White Sox as much as I can. Last night obviously was an outlier with them. The Rockies, that is, destroying Gallen, but I don't know. I don't fault anyone for going with an actual better pitcher than Ray, because if we were listing like the pitchers on this slate, if they were all in the same matchup, I mean, Ray would probably be like, I don't know, 12th, somewhere around there, like not high at all. So it's really, like you said, oh, if he wasn't facing the White Sox, I don't know how much interest. I would have zero interest if he wasn't facing the White Sox. But that matchup, this lineup against right-handed pitching, weather in Chicago, it just looks like a really good spot.
All right, let's go to the first game. We kind of hit on it with or where I was going with Houston and Texas. Jack Leiter is on the mound, obvious baseball, second generation ball player here. If I was worried about anybody from Texas, it would be the righties, which is most of the lineup at this point, but none of them are super fierce. Adolis Garcia is always the best guy for Texas against lefties. I mentioned Marcus Semien has the past history of success against Valdez. On the Houston side, it's really the top three in their order. What do you like for the Battle of Texas?
Yeah, I actually kind of like bats in this game. Weirdly enough, like I am such a big Valdez fan in general. It's odd for me to even say I like bats here, but I do. Especially the Houston side against Leiter, who's coming off a really good start, but that was against the Rockies, so I'm not taking much into accounting much into that. You know, this Houston lineup isn't great, but you know, you don't need them to be great for a season. You need them to just be great today. And facing Leiter, someone who puts guys on base, I could see Houston getting there here. You know, early start. I like offense more than I like pitching here. Certainly, Valdez would be the pitcher I'd go to. I'm, again, huge Valdez fan in general. I'm not on him today. But, again, like he is, for my money, is he a better real-life pitcher than Peralta? Maybe, probably. He's the second best pitcher on this slate behind Skeens as far as just overall talent. You could quibble with that if you wanted, but he's somewhere up there. I'm just not playing him today. He hasn't been like, he's been better recently, but his underlying numbers aren't that great so far this year. So I am worried a little bit of regression is coming, which is the main reason I'm off of him.
All right, let's continue on to our next game here. Mick Abel is making his debut for the Phillies. Paul Skeens is going for the Pirates. O'Neal Cruz is another guy that's been being pushed a little bit by the Sims here on FanDuel as another one-off type play. I'm going to get a little bit of Skeens on DraftKings, probably none on FanDuel. How do you want to go after this one? And I'm looking up some stuff here on Mick Abel.
Yeah, I'm not playing Skeens here either. He's really good, no doubt about it. And he's pitched well in great spots, or in tough spots, I should say, like against the Dodgers, but still a really tough matchup here. Philly will run. Philly's another team that has gotten to pitchers like Skeens. They're a really good lineup. They can hit good pitching. I remember earlier in the season when Tyler Glasnow was really popular against them and they just destroyed him. Not saying that they're going to do that to Skeens here, but there's enough worry for me at that price tag and ownership where I'm personally not locking in Skeens by any means. Him and Valdez probably just odd men out for me today, and that's just how the cookie crumbles.
All right. Just quickly reading up here on Abel making his debut. He spent the last two full seasons in AAA, has 9+ strikeouts per 9 innings. Did that as well this year. So 2 seasons in change where he's done that. The main key points are his fastball velocity kind of peters out in the upper 90s, meaning 70, 97, 98. It doesn't even come close to touching 100. He kind of rolls with it in the mid 90s. He doesn't have the best of command, and he really doesn't have a secondary pitch. That said, he's ready to move beyond AAA. He's proven everything he can there. He's 6'5", 23 years old, and I expect he will bounce up and down a couple times, ultimately settling into the back of the rotation or a relief role. When you have a fastball like that, even if it doesn't have a lot of life and movement, it definitely has utility as a middle reliever here, but he's not someone I want to play today.
Makes sense.
Next one here, as I open one of my 9 gazillion tabs, we have Atlanta at Boston. Spencer Schwellenbach going for the Braves. On the other side, it is Brian Lookout Bello. I like saying that just because it's fun. I love the Atlanta stack. We're not alone here. They're coming in number 1 in the tools. I didn't think that was going to be the case. But here we are. Now they're not dramatically number 1, but they definitely have a strong lead. We can look. I think they go 6 deep today. Drake Baldwin got another home run yesterday. He's their rookie catcher. You've got Riley, Olsen, and Ozuna. Alec Verdugo, price coming up just a little bit. He gets to go against one of his former teams. He is leading off. He gets on base, which is helpful when you have stacks because that creates RBI opportunities for the 3 or 4 guys behind him. Pretty much Atlanta is going to be well represented by the field, but I'm comfortable at least matching that. What do you like with Atlanta? Anything on the pitchers or Boston?
Yeah, so Schwellenbach's one of those pitchers that I mentioned that's like an actual really good pitcher, but like just in a brutal spot. I mean, in this ballpark against Boston. So no, I'm not interested in the pitching here really. Looks like Atlanta is the top stack on the board against Bayo, and ownership is they're coming in with pretty decent leverage. So I like Atlanta here. They're not my personal favorite stack. A couple teams I like more than that, but ownership is really spread out right now. At least that's how it's projected. I'm not sure I'm buying that. I think it comes in more concentrated on a couple teams. Atlanta probably is one of them because, this ballpark, 9 at bats, Bayo, etc. But again, for me, there's a couple teams I like more. So certainly Atlanta, if you're multi-entering, you're going to have a bunch of them. For me, they're not a stack that I'm prioritizing in like my first 2 or 3 lineups, but I might get there after that.
All right. That was the interesting thing is when I was building up my 7 lineups on FanDuel, I had to force in Atlanta because it wasn't using them as fillers, but it gave good ratings when I put them in as the stack. I think that's because it's not, or it's accounting for some popularity there when it's measuring the ROI, which makes sense since there are going to be more people going that particular path. Who are your favorite Boston hitters?
Yeah, I mean, got to be the top guys, Devers, Duran. Duran and Devers, top 2 guys. I mean, they're expensive, so it's like hard to get there. I'm not stacking against Schwellenbach here. Like, he's good enough. They're expensive enough. They're owned enough where I'm good there.
All right. We'll continue moving on. We're keeping an eye on the clock here. We've got the Battle of the Beltway. This one is worth talking about. You have Zach Eflin. Perhaps he will be the savior for the batters of Birdland. They fired their manager yesterday. Did you see that move, Matt?
Of course I did. I was messaging someone earlier in the day that I am stacking against the Orioles every day until they fire their manager because this team is just in shambles. They will not win until they fire their manager. And lo and behold, they fired their manager like an hour later. So, yeah, I ended up playing some Baltimore bats yesterday, which did not work out well, but I stayed on Washington, and that's what won me
early slate?
Yes, it did, because they were amazing. They went off early and then got there late. So Washington on my good side right now. I'm not going back there today against Eflin. He's a guy I respect a lot. Not using him because I don't love using right-handers against Washington. It's his second start, and he's expensive, but I'm not stacking the Nats against him. It's Baltimore for me in this game. I like them a ton against Soroka, especially with how we're projecting ownership. Like, I don't really buy it that they're going to be under 10% owned, but hey, I'm playing them, so I like them a lot here.
All right. So key things to know. The Orioles have a 15-29 record. They've lost 11 of their last 13, including their most recent 5. They have scored 6 runs twice in the last 4 days. That's helpful. And they're going against Mike Soroka. So Soroka was the longtime prospect that kept getting hurt for Atlanta. He was with the White Sox last year. The Nationals are pretty pitching desperate, so they decided to give him a go. He suffered a strained biceps in his first start. This will be his 3rd start back since missing a month or so with that malady. That was a new injury for him. It had mostly been shoulder, forearm, and elbow issues while he was with Atlanta. I love Gunnar Henderson. I think Ryan O'Hearn is pretty nice. Those are the 2 guys I have in a lot of my lineups. All right, I know I will in the ones I'm building out because they kept coming up as one-offs here. If you were consolidating this, how do you feel about Jackson, Holiday, Adley Rutschman, Mullins, et cetera, et cetera?
Yeah, I mean, I like this lineup a lot here. I will say the one thing about Soroka is his underlying numbers actually aren't bad. Like his 6.43 ERA is awful, but his 3.30 expected ERA is not awful. So something to note. You know, Baltimore stinks. They haven't gotten there a ton recently. I know they got there yesterday late with Holiday's 3-run homer, but other than that, they were pretty dormant the entire game. So not going to be shocked if they don't do anything again today, because this team is, even after firing the manager, just they don't look it right now. They just don't look like they have it. Can change on a whim. So I'm still playing them today, but I am worried about their ownership. I'm worried about Soroka being better than the field thinks he is, even if I don't think he's good. So, yeah, Baltimore I like a lot, but maybe a little bit less after talking them out. Just looking at Soroka, you know, just thinking about the ownership in my mind. Yeah, they still look good, though. Don't get me wrong. Washington's bullpen stinks. So if they get to Soroka, they'll get a bunch of at-bats there. Baltimore looks good here. If I were picking up my favorite bats, yeah, Jackson is red hot up top. Gunnar under 5K for him. He's not had a great year, but we know he has upside. So I think those 2 guys would be my 2 favorite. You know, I'll play some of the bottom of the lineup because it's giving you exposure to this stack against Soroka and this bullpen at lower ownership. But I'm not going to say I'm excited about playing Laureano and Kjerstad and Emmanuel Rivera. Like, those guys stink. So if you're playing them, you're just playing them to get exposure to the stack at low ownership and hoping Soroka and this bullpen gets blown up, which happens daily. So I get it, but I'm not going to say I'm excited to play them.
All right, real quick, I want to let everybody know I just dropped the link into chat there, but this is the Stokastic link join promotion here. This allows you to get DFS Sims 1 month, any single sport for free. Just follow the 4 steps that are listed here on the landing page. If you sign up for any of these operators or sports books, you will not only get their initial deposit match, you will also, if you follow the instructions here coming in through on our links, making your deposit, waiting for your first bet to settle, taking screenshots of your welcome email and your first settled bet, and emailing that to sport@stokastic.com. We'll get you set up with any sport you'd like, 1 month of the Sims. You can also use this for the Portfolio EV. product if you so choose. It's the same thing. You get 1 free month of that. If you're into the sports wagering, that would be a way to go. If you want to try out Portfolio EV first, anybody can get access to that for 7 days for free, clicking the link in the YouTube description below us here. All right, Matt, next game, we are in Toronto. We've got Detroit running out Jackson. I'm assuming it's Job, their new-ish pitcher. He is going against the mostly regular lineup there for Toronto. Jose Barrios is on the other side. I got to bring it up because I bring it up every time he pitches. All but 2 seasons of his career, he's had a 4 or lower, a 4.00 or lower ERA. We still love to pick on him. It's because he gives up power and usually in the most inopportune moments. Strikeouts are trending down. I don't think we need to go to him today, but he is someone I think if you're building out 150 on DraftKings or FanDuel, you can accept more on DraftKings, 10 to 15% of him. What do you like from this game?
Yeah, I don't really like Barrios. I mean, not overly interested in him against Detroit. I mean, he's got good starts in him, so it wouldn't be the craziest thing if he pitches well here, but nothing about the matchup, his price or anything makes me want to play him. Yeah, I think that it's about the offenses in this game. I don't love either, but I think they're both in play over the pitching. I mean, Detroit's been fantastic so far this season, have gotten there on a lot of slates. They're expensive though, really expensive for this spot. So I don't know if I'm personally not going to prioritize Detroit, but I wouldn't be, I wouldn't call anyone crazy who did, and I wouldn't be shocked if they won the slate. I just personally think there are other offenses I like more. I would imagine they're even lower owned than we're projecting though. We have them coming in at 4.5% owned. If I'm right in thinking that the Atlanta, Baltimore, Tampa's of the world are going to be higher owned, then teams like Detroit are going to get squeezed out. They're expensive. It's not a amazing spot on paper. So I think they're in play in tournaments. If I were playing 150, I'd have some, but I personally won't get there. Toronto, they're easier to fit. Their lineup isn't as good. Not overly interested. So this is probably a game I don't get much of, to be perfectly honest.
All right, then let's get to a game you're probably going to have some. We're going to go to Cincinnati. We've got Cleveland in Cincinnati. Your Guardians going against Andrew Abbott. He is a solid strikeout pitcher, but he can be had here, which is why Jose Ramirez is coming up strongly in the Sims as a one-off. You could also look to Carlos Santana, keeping it real, keeping it smooth, even as he is heading towards his milestone birthday. Johnsky Noel in there as well. And then you've got a lot of Cincinnati Reds that have appeal here, particularly the lefties. Matt, this is your team. Talk to me about the Guardians.
Yeah, so I don't love the Guardians as a full stack here. Abbott's been really good. I know it's a nice ballpark for hitting, but there's nothing about this Guardians lineup that makes me want to stack them here. Pinch hit risk all over it. Nah, I'm good. I like Jose a lot as a one-off. I mean, massive power, speed, upside, so he looks great on a slate where it's not hard to fit him. I mean, probably the best third base option as a one-off, but I'm not stacking Cleveland. Again, I don't think they're an awful stack. I mean, Abbott is not a pitcher that's infallible and you can get to him, but they're getting ownership. Their lineup isn't exciting to me. I'm good on 5-man stacking them. I'm more interested in using Ramirez as a one-off.
Okay. Anything from the Reds side of things here?
I feel actually basically the same about the Reds. I don't want to 5-man stack them here because they're really expensive. And I don't think Ortiz is bad. I don't think Ortiz is great either, though, and I love Ellie De La Cruz as a one-off almost as much, maybe more than I like Jose. I mean, talk about elite power, speed, upside. He's got it. I love him here. So I'm going to have one-offs on each side here, Jose and Ellie.
All right, that makes sense. We've got about 18 minutes here. I'm going to put on the screen here and build out my my FanDuel lineups. Doesn't look like we have that Miami lineup yet. At this point, I don't care because I'm not going to play much of it, and I've got time to maneuver those guys out as needed, but I don't want to miss out on some Framber Valdez. So I will get these Sims.
The Miami lineup just came out.
Of course it did.
Edwards placed on the IL, so he's out. It's
okay. So we didn't have him in the starting lineup. So I will go ahead and run these. I bet I'm not going to get too much of this. Let's get to the next game here, which is Tampa Bay and Miami. Matt, you saw the starting lineup before I did. I think Tampa Bay looks really good here. Their lefties going against Cal Quantrill. No surprise there. On the other side, I was trying to find reasons to make Shane Baz a potential pitcher here. He's just not had the production this season. He's looked downright bad, I guess. I was hoping there would be some Tampa magic here and get him polished up after dealing with injuries. It does not look to be the case, but this is one of the lineups we want to go after. What are you seeing for this Florida festivities here?
Yeah, I mean, I love Tampa in this spot. Like, couldn't love them anymore, really. Wish they weren't going to get a ton of ownership, and we're not projecting them to be that highly owned. I don't know. I feel like they should be higher owned. I like them a lot here.
This is the perfect time for me to put my hat on, Matt. Look at that.
Yeah, respect.
Yeah.
Quantrill is not good. Yeah, I like that. It's a nice look on you, Mac. It's a nice look. I respect it.
That was the birthday hat. When you get to a certain point age, you have everything you need. You get hats.
Yeah, I know. Or clothes of some sort. Some sort of clothes. Yeah, I'm already there. So Quantrill's not good. It's not the best ballpark for hitting. We know that, but they're just in a really good spot. I love Tampa here. They're cheap. I like 1 through 9. My favorites are going to be 2 through 5. Brandon Lau, Aranda, Caminero, Morel. I'm missing someone in there. Caminero. Oh, Josh Lowe. So I like all those guys a lot. Yandy Diaz up top. Even the bottom guys, Misner, Rorvet is a cheap catcher. Taylor Walls. Like, these guys aren't good, but neither is the Baltimore bottom of the lineup. But I'm playing against Cal Quantrill here. You know, if they get to him, they'll have a bunch of at-bats in this spot. They're my favorite stack on the board. If I were playing one lineup, I'd be stacking Tampa.
I think that is definitely a solid way to go. I'm expecting to, because I got a bunch in my 7 lineups I did there for FanDuel. We'll build out the other 143 here on the screen and see what transpires. But I'm expecting they will be well represented.
I'm totally prepared for them to be like very highly owned, though. Like, you know, in smaller field, higher dollar stuff, like 20% on the guys that you want, which is too high. But again, yeah, everything's you know, relative, right? Like, none of these guys are going to approach NBA level ownership. So it just depends on how much you like the spot. If they do really get that high, and maybe I'm completely off there anyways.
All righty, we are into the 2 o'clock games, which means we've got 3 left. There's a 3-game slate on DraftKings for these, and they are on the FanDuel and DraftKings main slates. St. Louis in Kansas City, the I-70 series here. Matthew Liberatore on the mound for the Redbirds. Michael Wacha on for Kansas City. Wacha sort of in play as an SP2. That $7,700 salary is about the only reason, and just to not have it be a 2-pitcher slate, or if you're building out more than 10 or so lineups here. How do you want to break down another Midwest rivalry series?
Yeah, so this is another game where I don't think I'm going to get that much of like any side. Liberatore has been really good this year. Like, I don't really want to use him in this spot, but I don't really want to stack against him either. So I think he's my favorite piece of this game. If I had to pick a side, Kansas City will always get ownership because they're cheap. People love using them. I think St. Louis is the side you want to get to here if you're going to play some offense. Wacha's not a guy I'm afraid to go after, but he's also not a guy I need to go after. So St. Louis looks like the better offensive side, and Liberatore looks like the better pitching option. So I got no problem with either St. Louis piece of this game. Neither is a priority for me, though.
All right. Sal Perez, Bobby Witt, kind of one-off options there on the St.
Always.
Louis side. Yeah, I guess Newt Barr leading off is decent. Donovan not too shabby, and then Wilson Contreras. Very, very.
I think that's a good point. I think for one-offs, I actually like the KC side more. Witt obviously is an elite one-off every slate. Perez at catcher, and St. Louis I like better as a full stack. Their lineup is better 1 through 9. They don't have like the Witt star power, but their lineup is better. And I'd rather just pick on Waka than Liberatore. So good point there.
All righty, 2 more, and one of them is going to get a lot of discussion. Well, we've talked about Peralta here. He just gets to go against a decimated Twins lineup. It's, yesterday, the Twins popped off, but that was against, who was it? Was that Tobias Myers or one of the Myers, who would only be would be a reliever if not for having literally the entire starting rotation injured, from Jose Quintana to Savale to blanking Woodruff. I forget the other guy who's out, but this is just a disaster of a lineup. So looking here, if you want to go against Peralta, the Twins are missing. Sorry, Nestor Cortez. I couldn't remember who that was.
Oh, yeah, good call.
Looking at the Twins, they're without Byron Buxton, Carlos Correa, Matt Wallner, backup utility guy Luke Keyshaw is out. Regular utility guy Willie Castro is banged up. He's not in the lineup again today. That means
I think Keyshaw's like going to be their starting second baseman. But
you think so?
Yeah, he was really good when he got called up, and he was raking in the minors. I really do. Yeah.
But we're looking at Brooks Lee. Brooks Lee has been fine.
Yeah.
But that's as your best guy. Yeah. I mean, Ryan Jeffers, Trevor Larnach, okay, acceptable hitters, but not 1 and 2. Ty France doesn't have any power. He makes contact. He doesn't really strike out a ton, but he doesn't have any power. Cody Clemens, seriously, he's batting 5th. Yes, fastball Freddie could implode. That happens from time to time. But if you're trying to stack the Twins, I don't even know who really to point at. I mean, sure, the top 6, but none of them are, giving me warm and fuzzies here.
Yeah, I think you're way too much poo-pooing the Twins right now, personally.
Okay, talk to me.
They've won 13 games in a row. I mean, they've won.
So they're the bizarro Baltimore Orioles. That's fine. Okay.
Maybe. Yeah, but that matters how they're playing right now. Doesn't mean we know it's going to continue, but this lineup has been really good, even without the guys that we talked about. So, again, I'm not buying it for the long term. And in general, this is a lineup I want to pick on. And I like Peralta a lot here. He's my favorite pitcher on the slate, but I don't know. I feel like you're way too comfortable going against a team that has been just beating everyone. And who's to say they can't just beat Peralta here?
So interesting. Wise man once said, "We respect the streak because they do not happen often." That would be Crash Davis, noted baseball philosopher.
And here's the thing. I mean, I'll reiterate. I'm playing Peralta. I love Peralta here. I just, again, I feel, how do I put this? I feel better about Peralta's stuff and his strikeout upside than I do going against this Twins lineup. It's all encompassed together for me. So I'm fine going against the Twins lineup here, but I don't think it's like the White Sox or anything like that. I thought you were potentially making it out to seem.
No, I'm just saying they're decimated. That's the main thing.
Totally. I mean, a lot of their main guys are out, but a lot of the guys that are playing now have been good. So, we don't know if it's going to continue. And certainly when the guys you mentioned are back, they're going to take over. And there are some holes in this lineup, like Kersey and, the bottom of the lineup, certainly. But the top of the lineup's been good. More worries for a chalky pitcher than I'd like. But, again, it's his strikeout upside. It's in general, this lineup, even though they're playing well right now, doesn't project well. So, just because they're playing well right now doesn't mean that this lineup's amazing. It's somewhere in the middle. You know what I mean? So I like Peralta a lot here. At the end, we get to the same conclusion. So no need to fight you. My fault.
No. That's good. That's good. Healthy disagreements are always key. I don't know if I'm going to get any Minnesota here. I don't mind giving them a little boost here in my 150. Finishing our games off here, we have 8 minutes until lock. We've got the White Sox at Chicago. Colin Ray on the mound. We talked about him a lot at the beginning, how he's kind of the SP2 here. No real love for Jonathan Cannon. I'm sure you have a lot of love for the Cubbies. What are you looking at here from the hometown team?
I actually don't
the
like the
hosts
Cubs here.
Both. What?
Yeah, sorry. So, I mean, again, when I say I don't like them, it's relative.
Right.
Like their offense is
yeah.
amazing. Like their offense is amazing. I could stack them on any slate, but there are some things working against them is the better way of phrasing it that I should have said. So number one, not good hitting weather here. So we've seen winds blowing out the past 2 games, ton of offense. That is not the case here. It's the opposite today. So not completely taking me off the Cubs. We've seen them destroy in like when it was snowing earlier this year. So I'm not saying they can't do that, but it is a notch against them as opposed to where like I would love them if the wind were blowing out. Second thing, and this is kind of, I can't remember who I was talking about earlier when I phrased it like this, but I think Cannon is better than the field thinks he is. So I don't think he's good, but I don't think he's awful either. And the field treats him like he's awful. So even today, Cubs are middling in the top stack tool. They're extremely expensive, the most expensive stack on the board by a good margin. And they're still getting ownership because people want to stack them. They see this matchup. They see this White Sox bullpen. And again, this White Sox bullpen stinks, and I get it. But if they're going to draw ownership, I'm just going to play the teams like Baltimore and Tampa that I like more.
Okay. That's totally acceptable.
I will say, though, I could see them like they'll probably still get love because they've been so good and they've got guys that just people want to roster and they run. But I could see them getting squeezed a little bit just because of how expensive they are, and the teams that I mentioned that I think are going to be higher owned just pick up Cubs love. And at that point, the Cubs become more appealing. Although just to kind of nip that in the bud, like I do think that the Cubs still get love because of what I said. Pete Crow Armstrong's been amazing. Tucker's been amazing. With no Yankees or Dodgers on this slate, the Cubs have the most desirable hitters overall.
All righty. I'm going to build out some DraftKings lineups here. So we've reiterated time and time again that it's really Colin Rea, and Peralta that are our main pitchers. I like the Cubs stack. Agree with you that they're spending. I think we can both land on Tampa Bay. I like the batters of Birdland. Who is your third option?
So I'm going to say Tampa, Baltimore, and my third is going to be, I didn't really talk about them because we kind of overpassed this team. I like Milwaukee here.
Okay.
Yeah, just as like a really contrarian stack that no one's going to go to. I don't think Matthews is a bad pitcher, but still very unknown. And I think this Milwaukee lineup can get to him. More like them as pieces, but in play for me here. I also kind of like Houston too. So I'll say some combo Houston and Milwaukee is my third.
All right. Who is your home run of the day? You
basically called this for me early in the show. You'd never expect me to go here. I'm going to switch it and reverse it on you, though. Marcus Semien going yard.
Really?
Really.
Mr. Ice Cold himself? Is that the BVP that has you?
It was everything. The BVP, you shitting on him, saying it's unbelievable. He was the top guy. Like it was just everything just mixed together, the melting pot, and Semien going yard.
All right. Well, I'm going to go with Michael Busch here just because you said you like Jonathan Cannon.
I just think he's better than the field thinks he is.
He's better than the field thinks he is. He has a sinking fastball that actually, if he could figure it out a little bit better, could induce ground balls, which would be a fun combination to have. It's just that it's hittable when it's not
totally. And
on a downward plane.
It like one other side of like the weather not being like conducive for hitting is that the Cubs aren't going to be highly owned. So just because they're getting some love, if the wind were blowing out here, they'd be the highest owned team on the slate. So like that is something that makes me like them, is that like they are picking up some ownership, but they're not going to be like popular by any means. And this offense has won. I mean, they've scored four or more runs. I can't remember the exact amount of innings, but in more innings than the Dodgers or the Yankees, the most in baseball.
That is an interesting one.
And that's a good DFS stat. You know what I mean? Because when you're scoring 4 an inning, like you're doing something.
I keep getting Luis Ortiz as an SP2.
He's really cheap. I'm not shocked that like the Sims
Is that why
out.
it's pushing it?
Yeah, he's really cheap. I don't know if you need it today, but if you're playing Cubs, you might.
Well, that would probably be why. Let's see where the stacks are here. Why Pittsburgh? A lot of Pittsburgh, a lot of Houston. Okay, I'm good there. Good there. I'm missing Atlanta. So let's do a little Atlanta. Cubs not quite coming in. Give them a little bit of love. I got 2 minutes to go. All right, let's see what that did. I wanted to build out some lineups here on air. We'll do that maybe next week just to show you guys what the single lineup sim does. But Lothy builds them out a fair amount on the DFS strategy show, which is definitely a fun watch if you guys are into those sorts of things. Baltimore not really coming up. Let's give them a little bump, and then we'll just ride with whatever this is.
If I hadn't built before the show, I don't know. I might be off of Baltimore. Like, I'm still going to play them, but I don't like them as much as I did before.
They've got to come around. And it's Soroka, but I said the same thing against Irvin yesterday. So
Soroka's underlinings aren't bad, and Irvin is way worse than Soroka. And I also said the same thing yesterday.
Yeah,
I don't know about way worse, but he's not I don't think that Soroka is, or I think those guys are comparable at least right now. Don't you?
I think it's fair. I think they are better than Gibson and.
I agree. Not better than many guys besides that. Gibson got DFA'd during our show. So
did he really? Oh, sad times. Sad times.
Not completely unexpected. I mean, that was, although you got to feel bad. I don't know if you watched any of it. I had the Nats. I was watching it. They were hitting him, and Keibert Ruiz hit a line drive to center with no outs in the first, runners on second and third. And Mullins just misread it. The ball was hit really hard. It was a double over his head, but he broke in. It's man, when it rains, it pours,
Yeah. Yeah. It's just
baseball's really fickle like that. The smallest of things matter the most.
It truly does. And but we like to say it, every the borrowing from the old, you're gonna, no matter how bad you are, you're gonna win a third of your games, no matter how good you are, you're gonna lose a third of them. It's the same thing with pitching. Unless you're a true frontline top 20 guy, you're gonna have 10 starts that just don't go your way. You're gonna have 10 good ones, no matter who you are. It's what you do with the other 10, right? And it's one of those where, it's Soroka. I mean, God, we see it all the time with Patrick Corbin. Guy has allowed the third most home runs since the start of 2022. And the other three pitchers that have allowed more have all thrown over 100 innings more than he has and are barely ahead of him. Yet he still has good games here and there. It happens. It happens.
Mm-hmm. It's a crazy game.
Yeah, Portfolio EV 7-day free trial link is in the YouTube description below us here. We talk about the link join and how you can get 30 days of either the Sims or Portfolio EV for free by signing up with one of those 13 operators. I'm guessing you guys aren't with all of them yet. And if you are, maybe your wife would like to join. Not that I would advocate anything like that, but, giving gifts, it'd be from the goodness of your heart. But with that, we are going to slide on out of here. You guys can follow Matt at Fantasy Tips Matt. You can find me at EMACDFS over there on Twitter. And of course, it is Stokastic _COM. With that, gamers, good luck.